Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nona from thealignedlover.com. Today's video is a bit more philosophical. I will be discussing the nature of archetypes and how that relates to the Kibbe archetype or identity system, and really any system that links physical form or qualities with underlying personality traits, behaviors, and intentions. So we'll get into a little bit of traditional Chinese elements, a little bit of Ayurvedic body types, and then we'll circle back and link it to how to dress yourself better. So before I delve in, please like and subscribe to support. All right, so before we get into what the definition of an archetype is, let's just look at some examples. I think it'll be a little bit easier to find clarity that way. So for example, if we are looking at classical mythology, Aphrodite is the archetype of the lover. She is bound to her role as the lover. She acts and behaves purely as someone who has the motivation and the desire to gain love, be loved, be adored. She is very different from, say, someone like Aries, the archetype of the soldier, who only behaves in a way to act like a soldier. You know, these archetypes are not nuanced individuals. They're very condensed and purified aspects, kind of like prisms, colors in the white light prism. They are isolated traits that obviously as humans relate with and can identify in our own psyches. And so, circling back to what an archetype is the original or like the mold of something, and it only exists in the mental or imaginary sphere. For example, if you think of a chair, that's like the archetype of a chair. Any physical chair is not that original mold. It was inspired and it reflects that original mold, but it's not that mold. With, say, Aphrodite, you can resonate with the archetype of the lover, especially if you have it very strongly in you, or it's very pertinent to the stage of life that you are currently in. But you'll never be Aphrodite. You'll never act only as Aphrodite. There are probably moments where it feels like you do, but you'll never be Aphrodite. You can never be an archetype. You can only experience them, especially when you reflect back. Now, this is different from an epitome. If someone or something is the epitome of something, that means they have very, very strong similarities, or they express that archetype or quality extremely well. For example, she was the epitome of grace and beauty. She's got so much grace. She's so beautiful, but is she grace and beauty? No. Does this sound very obvious? Yes, but this idea or this distinction tends to kind of get blurred when it comes to the Kibbe archetype system. All right, so how does this relate to the Kibbe system? So the Kibbe system is a system that gives us so much material to chew on, that really emphasizes the main idea that form reflects purpose or personality, and this is not new to the Kibbe system. Humans have been doing it for years. We'll get into that in a little bit. But for example, if you are someone who is naturally very nurturing and caring and indulgent, very relaxed, in repose for most of your day, you'll probably have a softer, rounder body type or vessel. Which came first? Does having a softer body make you act in a certain way, or does acting a certain way create that body type? Chicken and the egg. Up for debate. We won't get into that, but we're just looking at the correlation between certain forms and certain personality types. And with the Kibbe system, we are taking that a step further and trying to figure out how to best celebrate those forms and those personality types so that you get this harmony between who you are, what you look like, the whole truth is beauty kind of statement of his system. Another lovely thing about Kibbe's system is that he's given so many old Hollywood examples. Those old Hollywood examples are very controlled, or were very controlled. Studios back then were very, very demanding and controlling of their artists. They told the artists what they could wear, how they could do their hair, how to speak. They really, really curated these very controlled images, and that gives us very, I would say, potent examples of certain characteristics or style archetypes. And this is useful because it's a lot easier to see more subtle experiences or subtle examples of a certain archetype or quality after seeing it in a very potent or strong form. So let's take a little detour and discuss very briefly some other systems that seek to reflect form and function, very ancient systems, because it's always fun to see the similarities and differences of classifications and qualities attributed to different forms. So in Ayurveda, there are these main body types of vata, pitta, and kapha, and then intermediary types, kind of like the Kibbe system. We'll just get into these main types. So for example, vata, it's spacious and airy in quality. Think of a cold wind, always moving, very expansive, very active, very light, not a lot of weight to it. So this quality creates behavior that creates a certain body type that is always burning up energy, probably doesn't have that big of an appetite because they hate feeling weighed down, very restless. An example of that would be Keira Knightley. She's very sleek and dry and slender, not a lot of mass to her. An example of pitta, or pitta is a quality that is very fiery and hot, athletic. This element creates behavior that is very goal-oriented, very focused on getting things done in the real, tangible world. Loves a challenge, very hardworking, big appetites, and that tends to create a very athletic build because this behavior causes you to want to always be active and challenge yourself and get things done. And you also have a big appetite, so you can burn up energy but build that muscle mass. And an example of that is Mia Hamm, the soccer player, and you can see she has that lovely broadness to her body, that lovely musculature as well. And then the other element or type is kapha. It's more earthy and watery. This quality is very stable and grounded. It tends to create a persona or behaviors that are linked to being very nurturing and stable and affectionate, which creates a more rounded body, a little bit more of a heavy body. These people are good at conserving and building up energy stores in their physical body. So they're not burning up a ton of energy all the time, but they love pleasure. They're more indulgent, so they're going to, I would say, eat more. And an example of this body type is Kelly Brook. You can see she's very voluptuous and curvaceous. And when we think of these elements, we can see that these people thrive when they really embrace their body type or elements. So if you told Kelly Brook to be a vata, she would be dishonoring her lovely natural form of course, you can be too much of a certain type, like you can be a little bit too imbalanced. For vata, you can just like stop eating and just like wither away. For pitta, you can just like work yourself into the ground too much. For kapha, you can be overindulgent. There's a balance within your own type, but you never try to change types. There's no ultimate balance. There's only your specific balance. And how that relates to dressing yourself is that if you dress yourself according to, like, I would say fruit body types, always trying to find that hourglass moderation, you're going to dishonor your unique body type. And briefly, let's just go into some traditional Chinese elements and their examples. For fire, we have a persona that's very vibrant, lively, spunky, and this tends to create, or it tends to be associated with someone who has a heart-shaped face. And the example is the lovely Audrey Hepburn with her heart-shaped face, who is always playing someone vibrant and spunky. And I think that gels so well with her glean identity, someone who has that like electric kind of beauty. For Earth, we have someone who's nurturing and compassionate. They probably have a more curvy or pear-shaped body. For that, we have Kate Winslet as an example. I think she does have that very earthy, nurturing beauty. It's very, very obvious in her. She's not limited to it, but it's very strong and prominent in her. For metal, we have someone who is like metal, more broad and defined and squared, strong, sharp. Jamie Lee Curtis. For water, we have the very, very good example of Christina Ricci, round, soft. They have that creative but introspective and kind of solitary vibe going on. I think she's like the perfect water example. And for wood, we have someone who's like wood, earthy and strong. They tend to have a rigid strength to their body. They tend towards more musculature as well, and they're very goal-oriented. They are go-getters, and I think that gels so well with her very physical kind of persona, the things that she's known for. So yes, as you can see, many ways to describe people, many qualities to see in them. But the important part is knowing that you can recognize or identify these qualities, but these people are not purely of that quality. And this is important if you are exploring the Kibbe system or really any typing system. You are not going to find 100% resonance with a certain type because you are a nuanced and multifaceted individual with your personal preferences, the needs of everyday life, a whole list of very dynamic kind of factors that go into figuring out style that is going to be accessible for you, that's going to work for you. So yes, just try to kind of contemplate and chew on these different elements or these different archetypes and reflect on it, because that's the most important part, is reflecting on it so that you can kind of extract what is useful for you and translate that into something tangible, something that honors your silhouettes, your personal preferences, the needs of your daily life. You are not an archetype. You are not like this imaginary character or this extremely controlled and curated persona that only exists in like 100% super stylish outfits all the time. It's okay not to have the perfect outfit all the time that represents and expresses every facet of your personality, because that is really hard. And trying to maintain that level of, I would say, expression is going to be exhausting. You just can't expect your clothes to express who you are 100% all of the time. Because, yeah, maybe in your imagination you can, but in real life, that's really, really hard. So going back to thinking about your particular balance, like with the elements, we have to figure out what reinforces your specific lines, because you can't copy other people's lines, and they're not going to work on you because you have your own unique balance. Balance for you is very different from balance for someone else, even if you have the same Kibbe type. So for example, going back to the classical elements, say you're a very watery type. Your body is very rounded and soft. What reinforces water, or what supports water? Earth. Having a little bit of that earth to hold you so that your water can flow. That might look like wearing something with waist definition and a more defined, I would say, collar and shoulders, so that your curves or your watery bits can flow. That will allow the tapering of the waist, the roundness of the chest and hips to flow. To dishonor that water would be to give yourself too much, say, fire. Fire cancels out water. You might be trying to fit that wateriness into something a little bit too sharp and tailored and cutting, something that doesn't let you be who you are and flow. Just another example is, say you have a very earthy body. You have that athletic, earthy, natural body. What is good for earth? Water. So wearing clothing that is more drapey and fluid allows your natural structure to really shine through. But wearing something, say, again, like fiery, a little bit too sharp and tailored, that's going to fight you, and it's not going to give you your specific balance. So really what I'm trying to say is, in order to dress your silhouette, you have to focus on your silhouettes, and you can get a lot of inspiration and guidance from online or even in-person suggestions for general, like general Kibbe types, or general essences, general seasonal color types even, but you still have to chisel it down and sculpt it to make it specific to you. So that's going to require a lot of contemplation. And if you need any help on that, I do offer style services for that. And I do want to end this with a reminder that you also need to honor your personal preferences. There is always a way to bridge what you like with what looks really good on your silhouette. So for example, if you're a soft natural who hates more casual clothes, you can find a way to wear more tailored clothes in shapes or fabrics that really gel with the relaxed shape you need. For example, Hilary Duff in a relaxed kind of pantsuit. Another example, if you're dramatic but you love frill and ornateness, you can wear very decorated, more decorative pieces that still honor your long, sleek frame. If you're a gamine but you hate color blocking, you can still find a way to create little segments that honor your smaller proportions in a monochromatic outfit that isn't super contrasted. It can be a lot more subtle. So that was it for today's video. Yes, the big picture really is just to not over-identify or limit yourself with these archetypes or these ideas or classifications. It's helpful, and it can be extremely, I would say, affirming to recognize yourself in them or see these qualities reflected in you, but don't limit yourself, and don't be too attached to the labels. The bottom line is that you find clothing that works for you, and if that is easier, without the labels, if that's easier for you, if you just explore the themes and the patterns and put together what you like the most, that's awesome. Do that. Yeah, the labels are just there to like make it convenient to remember certain groupings and patterns, but really they don't matter. So if you need help with that process, reach out. I will see you in the next video. Bye.